if you are not in charge of the cattle in the pasture and you come across an open gate,
Mm-hmm.
you should.
Leave it open.
And if you come across a closed gate,
Leave it closed.
yeah.
Cav-
Always.
Caveat.
Never.
What if there's no cows around?
Still leave it how you found it. You don't know what I'm up to out there.
Mm-mm.
I could be headed that direction with cows.
Nope. It's January. They're not going to be out here for months. I'm going to be going through this thing every day, multiple times.
Gates get wonky if you leave them laying out in the winter. And then my poor soft spring self has to close wonky gates.
You got to harden up.
It takes a minute.
These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. In the United States, there are about 15.2 million hunters. That's how many hunting licenses we sell in the country. And they spend around $21 billion per year, which breaks down to an average of $2,800 per hunter. Now, we need to be really smart about how we spend that money. You can't spend it on stuff that's going to break. Otherwise, you have to buy something else again, and you end up costing yourself even more. We also need to be smart about how much weight we carry in our packs, because that's a serious limiting factor. One way to remove about 5 pounds out of your pack without sacrificing your ability to find animals is to get rid of your spotting scope and tripod. Now, there's a time and a place for those things, and I carry both of them a lot. But if I need to go lightweight, I'm going to carry stabilized binoculars. And the best stabilized binoculars I have ever used are from Sig Sauer. They are the Zulu 6, and they just came out with a new pair called the Zulu 6 HDX. I use the 12-power magnification model. They weigh 21.5 ounces, and they have 2 modes of stabilization. So you throw the lever forward once, and that's going to stabilize the image. If you turn it off and turn it back on again, that's going to stabilize it even more. And I'm not kidding. It is more stable than if you're glassing from a tripod. It is absolutely incredible. You're going to be able to see stuff at just incredible distances and really break it down. Like, you're going to be able to tell the difference between a Billy and a Nanny mountain goat at a mile. You're going to be able to actually see if there's a kicker coming off that 4x4 muley that just popped up over the hill. They work great at early and last light. They work great at highlight. They fit really well in my hands. Like, this was one of the first products that I asked Sig to make when I started working with them. And to no surprise, they were already on it. They were way ahead of me. But this is a really good piece of gear. I highly encourage you look into it. You can go to sigsauer.com, look for the Zulu 6 HDX. Comes in a few different magnification settings, but the one that I like the best is the 12 power. Check it out. So I was on a call this morning talking about suicide prevention.
Oh.
Very uplifting.
Wow.
Not actually.
No.
People are so scared to talk about it.
About suicide or death?
Both. Suicide for sure. Death in general, I think. You know, we all know that we're going to die, but we're like unwilling to acknowledge that.
Right.
In really basic ways. But this was an outfit that is working on suicide prevention, and they're,
for a specific audience, or
they've got some funding to try to actually take it on,
okay.
And they're just gathering information right now. They had some good questions, and I really like their passion. They were definitely from that public health sector where
Sure.
all of their language is tempered by just like extremely inefficient politeness. Yeah. It's like we're talking about like people that want to kill themselves. Like, let's just get to it. We've got an hour. Let's get to it and get through it. But yeah, ongoing problem.
It really is. In ag, ag is one of the highest populations of suicide with alongside vets,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. I think farmers are actually beating veterans right now.
We're winning.
Woohoo! I was just talking about this with not about the suicide aspect, but we're talking about this with a buddy of mine the other day, and some of the most high stress jobs are the ones where a really high level of performance is expected, but it's an uncontrolled environment. Like you don't know. There's lots of sectors where if you perform better, then you get a better product. Like you
Right.
get more done, you achieve more. With some things like ranching, with, military, with warfare, with guiding, like you have to achieve at an incredibly high level. Your performance has to be like tippy top of the game. But the factors that determine success are really not controllable by your effort.
Yeah.
And if that's your profession, then that is what leads to just gargantuan levels of stress.
Yeah. I feel that. I think so many things are completely out of our control, and it takes a lot of zen to be okay with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And keep working even when you're getting slammed in the face with things that you can't control. I often wonder, though, with farmers having such a high suicide rate, if a lot of it doesn't have to do with isolation and a sense of not being able to speak directly. Like the term you just used was really good.
Mm.
Inefficient politeness.
Yeah.
Something like that. I wonder sometimes if people feel like they're being left behind in society and they don't have a place where they can just speak bluntly and directly about their day, their struggle, they're just lacking that community, I guess, because I know as a rancher, but also a mom, like nothing feels better than when I admit something that I think is really shameful or embarrassing, and another rancher or mom goes, "Ooh, I got one better." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm normal and it's okay." And if you don't get to do that, if you don't have that community, it's really isolating.
Yeah. Another friend of mine sent me this yesterday, and it's a packaged T-bone from the IO Ranch in Evant, Texas.
Yeah,
But it says T-bone, beef loin, T-bone steak, humanely raised but occasionally verbally abused. And then the nutritional information.
on the packaging?
Yeah.
See? Like, I want to be friends with them. That's so good.
Yeah. So, folks, if you're out there, enjoying a lovely ribeye steak, just know at some point somebody said mean things to that animal.
Yeah. And that ranch kid that turned into an adult still doing it, right? Like, we've heard some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Forgive me for the things that I said when we were sorting cattle.
Right? Ideally forget. That's a forget over forgive moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's a test of a relationship.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have one person cutting and the other one on the gate. Let's see if we're on the same page or not.
Oh, and the drives home, that silent drive home
it's
after.
Just got to be quiet.
Ooh.
Like don't you open your lips.
Yeah, don't touch the radio dial, don't open your lips. You sit still and be as quiet as possible.
Yeah.
Until there's more room between us.
Yeah. We got to let this simmer down a little bit.
Got to breathe.
Yeah. What's the maddest you've ever been at a cow?
Hands down, and this is awful, but it's at a calf.
At a calf.
Is the maddest I've ever been, and it's happened multiple times.
They don't know the rules.
When a calf won't nurse.
Oh.
When you've gone through the excruciating battle of getting a cow into a chute or tied down or whatever like you had to go through to get this cow, because you're like, surely it's not the calf's fault. This adorable little calf can't nurse, whether she's kicking at it or she's got a bad bag, whatever's happening. You blame the cow. You've already taken out a lot of aggression getting that cow into a situation, and then you nudge this little creature up there and it just like fumbles with the teat, or it doesn't do any sort of action. And it seems like a moment where you'd have like deep empathy and understanding.
Yeah.
But I've never been madder than like, just nurse. Grab a hold and nurse. I've done everything for you.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I'm not alone.
That one gets you.
I've talked to other people that have lost their minds in that moment.
That one doesn't hit me that hard. It's like, all right, now you're getting a tube, and, we're going to bang a tube down your throat, and here comes a bottle of milk the hard way.
Yeah. But then what? Then you've got a bottle calf on your hands. There's more sleep deprivation involved.
Hopefully you're just kind of priming the pumps and getting them going. But, yeah, a calf that just doesn't have it to, like, do the basics. Like, it just had a glitch on its programming and doesn't have the instinct to be able to feed itself. Like, that's a frustration for sure. For me, it is that breachy cow. Like, that they're a jump over the fence, go through the fence kind of animal, and they're high-headed, and there's just too much space between their tail and their body, and they look at you and you look at them and you think, bitch, you better not. And then they go over through the fence anyways. That's full rage. Like, at that point, I want to just go over to my truck, grab a rifle, and kill that thing and butcher it in the field and just be done with this animal forever. But you can't. Like, that's not an option.
No. So this is so funny because that doesn't get me at all.
Really?
I've got mad respect for the breachy cow. Like, I kind of enjoy her. I understand her.
No.
I don't like being, like if there's, I am the breachy cow. I feel like if there's a line that you're not supposed to cross, you're supposed to just like stay in this area. This is your area. The area is beautiful. Probably the best place to be. Definitely has food and water in it. I'm probably going to jump the fence. And the breachy cow, when you get like a good connection, we've put her back in like 4 or 5 times. And then all you have to do is like head towards her and she jumps back in. I think that's fun.
Yeah, that's all right. But when she goes the other way, it's not. Like,
right.
Do you remember the winter where we had those rebel-ass heifers that just lived out?
Yeah.
Will and I took off.
They like made it to like Idaho, basically.
Damn near. Will and I took off hunting them because we had all that snow, right? We had, I can't remember. It was like 5 feet of snow. But we took off on snowshoes, and it's like, we're going to get them. We're going to get them today. And we walked out to the edge of the rim to see if we could spot them down in the timber. And I fell through the crust of that cornice with my snowshoes on and went over the top of my head because it was all built up right there. So I got completely soaked in snow, cold, had to dig myself out of this thing with snowshoes on while Will's just laughing at me. And then we took off, and I thought we had them. We tracked them down. I thought we had them turned back, and they just took off the other direction. And I just, I thought, I hope you die. I hate you all so much. We did get them back, but it wasn't until March.
Yeah. Scott McLaren's got a great reference for that. It's letting the letting the white cowboy bring him in or something when you just wait on enough snow and misery
Oh,
to get him to the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah, that's frustrating, and that's where like a good dog is
Right.
so priceless. I mean,
Yeah.
the miles that good dogs save me and my horse is outstanding. It's incredible. But two, it's different being in the valley now with cows all the time because, I don't have cows in the canyons anymore. But when cows in the canyons get out, everybody just kind of is like, hey, you've got some stuff on us. We'll see in the fall.
Right.
Whatever. Right. And you sort it all out in the fall. Neighbors help each other.
More of that like grazing association mentality.
Exactly. Here, like I had some cows get out, into the neighbors, and it's like in their yard
Yeah.
or in with like their purebred tiny backyard stock, and they're like, you need to get here immediately or they will start public shaming you on social media.
Yeah. Straight to Facebook. Just
It's brutal. It's a different thing, and I don't move quickly. I've got toddlers and stuff going on, so
yeah.
I definitely had some social media shaming for livestock out this year.
There is something that's really satisfying to me about being the one that gets the word that your cows are out, and I love it. Like it just fills me with joy when somebody's like, "Oh, we got Coriani's out, wherever." I'm like, "Yes." But the bad thing is, you and Mom are both not good phone answerers.
That's true.
And sometimes you're elsewhere, and like that becomes the priority. Like no matter what's going on,
Right.
it is now the priority. And like, I can't remember. It was like Super Bowl Sunday or something, and I was at Paul and Montana's, dressed like I am now, wearing shorts and flip flops, wanting to enjoy the one football game a year that I watch. Eat a chicken wing, something along those lines.
Ah.
Nobody answers, and I end up in shorts and flip-flops on the highway and on the railroad tracks, chasing cattle in the middle of the night. And state police pull up, and they look at the situation and look at me and go, "Yeah, nice. Really
Yeah.
dressed like a cowboy. Like I wasn't planning on cowboy tonight. This is supposed to be chicken wing night."
I know. There's they'll ruin your plans.
Yeah.
That would be what I would put on a steak package. This animal ruined all my best plans. Enjoy. I hope your Saturday date night's better than any of mine have been since I own cows.
When are you happiest with a cow?
Oh, that's a good question. I think when they've put me somewhere that I wouldn't have been without them, whether that's like a really early morning and it's beautiful, or in high country, just somewhere where like we're trailing, I'm on a horse, I'm with cattle, and it's beautiful. That happens a lot too. And I think that's when they make me the happiest. I also really like sorting and cutting on cows, and doing that dance with them is pretty fun.
We should probably talk about what cutting means.
Okay. Cutting is when you take an animal out of the herd and hold it out for whatever reason. So, let's say you're trying to get bred cows and open cows, or cows that are not bred, apart from each other. You would hold them all in one area, go in with a horse, ideally, or yourself, and pull out the open cow. And then there's this dance where they're herd animals, so they're going to want to get back to the group. And what I think is really cool is they'll do that dance with you and then there's this moment where they submit, and they turn away and they're ready to trail them, and then they're good to go. Like they'll go wherever you want them to go. And I think that nonverbal communication is just really cool.
And how you apply that pressure is really interesting, because it's with your eye contact, with the position of you or you on your horse in relationship to that animal. every animal kind of has a different pivot point for like where you're putting that pressure. So I can be 30 yards, 50 yards away from an animal, and if I take a step to the left or a step to the right, they're going to respond
Mm-hmm.
to either of that. And that's really interesting. I think for somebody that wasn't ever around livestock to observe that, they would probably think that there was some kind of sorcery going on.
Yeah. I think it absolutely looks like sorcery, but it's energy too.
Yeah.
You can,
I think it's instinctual as well because
hmm
wolves will do this to herd animals,
right.
and they'll use their body language and position in relevance to that animal, even if it's on this in the center of the herd. You can still put pressure on an animal in the center of the herd by reacting to its
Yeah.
movements specifically. And wolves can cut an animal out of a herd and single it off so that they can go kill it. I think that humans have that too. So, it's not like you just explain to somebody how to cut cattle and then they can go do it. But I do think that they tend to innately know a little bit.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth in that with hunting or ranching. Anytime you're with animals like that, there's a certain level of instinct that if you listen to it, you kind of know what to do.
Hmm.
And then there's the practice and the skill and the learning part too. And I don't know if do you think that lots of people who actually don't know how to hunt think that they would know how to hunt, they just need the opportunity?
No,
No. You think that it's an intimidating thing to do?
it is intimidating. A lot of it, a lot of the intimidation comes from the regulations
Oh, okay.
and from the gear. Like they don't know even what gear they're supposed to use, and then they don't understand the regulations and the seasons and the limits and what they're allowed to do.
I get
So
that.
it's all been bogged down by modernity in different ways that it's really inaccessible to people who don't know, who don't have a foothold. But the actual doing of the thing, like once you have somebody with the correct license and the right, rifle and optics and clothing and all that stuff, and you put them out there, then it becomes so much more basic. And from that, I think people are able to tap back into their instincts a little bit, observe their surroundings, drown out that static of everything that
Mhm.
is going on elsewhere in the world, and focus in on the present, start observing the weather and the wind and the vegetation and, not just the time of day because that affects your schedule, but like how is the position of the sun to where you are on the earth affecting where you want to be and where you think these animals are. All that stuff starts to make sense to people really quickly,
Yeah.
and then they're able to act on it. And then when they get into the more technical aspects of things, like actually taking the shot and finding the animal afterwards and processing the animal, those are learned skills that you really kind of need that mentor
Mhm.
or access to videos, podcast information so that you can learn how to do it. But the actual hunting, like the sure enough hunting of the thing, I do think people have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
As far as shooting goes, almost everybody can shoot a bow really quickly. Like if they're physically able to shoot a bow,
Yeah.
the smallest amount of practice, uh, people have that in them. Like
Yeah.
they have the ability to shoot a bow relatively well, relatively quickly. Now to shoot a bow really well, that takes forever. Like
Right.
you never summit that peak.
Yeah.
Like you can always shoot a bow better than what you do now, but you can shoot good enough really quickly.
Yeah. I've experienced that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
It feels so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think me and every other woman who's ever shot a bow is like, I am freaking Katniss Everdeen instantly. Yeah, and it just feels like so natural and cool and addicting. You want to do it just a little bit better because there's just enough idiosyncrasies to like want to keep trying to do it better the next time. And I feel the same about roping.
Yeah.
It's like roping's a pretty basic thing. Once you get the hang of it, it's like, okay, and that's it. Like, there's your loop. You swing it around, you throw it. And the reason you can do it 10,000 times and still want to do one more is because you can always do it just a little bit better, a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah, you and I used to rope a lot, try and get 100 straight head catches before we went to the school bus and stuff like that. I don't think I've touched a rope in a couple of years. But if we went out and played a game of pig right now, I'd beat you.
That's not true at all.
Oh, it is so true. Have you ever beat me?
Surely. Yes, of course I have.
Do you think so?
Yes. And I would beat you right now.
No, you wouldn't.
I absolutely would. Stay tuned, folks. This is happening.
Uh-uh.
Are you serious?
Not unless I had like some stiff, brand new heel rope or something that I couldn't.
You can rope with whatever one you want. Pick your poison.
You don't have a chance here. You should just save yourself the embarrassment, probably.
This is insane. All right. We'll table that matter.
What's the difference between a cowboy and a buckaroo?
Flair. Mostly that's a regional difference at this point. When I think about it, the first things that come to mind are like the shape of a hat, where your skills are. A cowboy you can apply to anything, like Beyonce's a cowboy.
Is she though?
Sure. I don't have the like gatekeeper mentality on the term cowboy. Like you feel cowboy in your heart, you go. You're a cowboy. Buckaroo comes from a more traditional background. That's like the Joaquima de Freno, California vaquero background.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm jealous of buckaroos at this point is the trotting out. Like being able to trot out straight from your barn to start your day is really cool.
Yeah.
And here it's so much trailering, so much, like we spend so much time on foot.
Yeah.
And you don't have that. It's rocky and steep and we're in smaller pastures and all that. But yeah.
Well, I mean, just in all this steep ground, like you're not really trotting anywhere.
No.
Yeah. I think of buckaroos as more of a desert kind of deal, typically. Yep. And yeah, they're gonna probably have on a flat-ish hat, if not very flat. They're gonna have silk wild rag on.
Mm-hmm. Some fringe.
Yeah,
silver.
Gonna have some fringe. Definitely some bling.
Yeah.
Some oversized spurs, more than likely.
This has been one of your favorite things to tease me about, and one of my favorite things in life. Like from when we were kids, I always want to have the outfit first. Like even when you say like you were talking about hunting and gear, I was like, ooh, yeah, the right outfit. Like that would be the first thing I would think of. And I've always loved that part. So I love the big, ridiculous and bright colored wild rags and punchy things. I've toned down a lot from my 20s.
Yeah.
A little more practical now, but I love it. I'm all about the flair, and I like that you can tell where somebody's from in the cowboy world based on what they look like, or at least where they're trying to pretend to be from.
Sure. Yeah. If somebody's actually cowboying or buckarooing, you should be able to look at their hat and by the shape of their hat know about where they're from.
Yeah.
That said, every single cowboy hat's going to be different.
Yeah. Especially now, there's so many incredible hatters and even just custom hat shapers.
But there's only one Kate Havstad.
There is only one Kate Havstad.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I get to make a hat with Kate this fall.
Nice. I'm debating about whether I'm going to guide in mine.
What is your What's your debate? I'm so excited we're talking about outfits. Tell me which hat that you are guiding in this season.
Well, Kate made me that hat last year, and an inch shorter brim than a standard cowboy hat.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural felt, so the color's fine in any environment because it's just natural felt. It's gray, but it's such a nice hat, you know. So
Mm.
is that like the special occasion hat, like, you know, weddings, funerals, and nice dinners out, or is that like gonna be the hat that I hunt in that's gonna get bloody and get face paint on it and, you know, get a big sweatband crawling all over the place? And I think it's fine either way.
Yeah.
And even though Kate is like an absolute top tier hatter, she's not going to be mad if I get blood and crap all over the hat, you know, and it'll stand up to it.
Yeah. So I do have a theory about this.
Okay.
Because I work in my most well-made things,
Mm,
and I save pretty but fragile things for the funerals, dates, etc.
gotcha.
So the boots that I work in and the boots that I ride in were the most expensive and the most well-made
Mm,
because I feel like the people who made them, and I bought them from people who made them, built them with materials and with integrity so that they could hold up to
yeah.
work. And then, you know, the things that are made out of 50% plastic but look really pretty,
Yeah.
then wear them where they're not going to get,
Yeah.
you know, distressed. And I feel like there's so much honor in using it for what it's for.
Yeah. I run into that with knives all the time. Like, you know, I've got these beautiful, beautiful knives, like from Rucker and from Trondrud. Like, they're absolute works of art. You know, this is a skill that's been improved on in this knife building style for thousands of years. It's an amazing thing. The knife is, you know, one of the first tools that we ever made. We used knives for like a couple million years before we ever used fire.
Crazy.
So it's this incredible part of who we are, and this is an absolute work of art. But like these two knives in particular, both of them were like, make sure you use it.
Right?
And
Don't hang it on the wall.
yeah, and it just feels like I'm using a Picasso painting as a placemat, you know, and getting crumbs on it. But I do use both of those knives. But I'm definitely susceptible to wanting to keep nice things nice, and using them is not a good way to keep them nice, but it is probably the best way to honor the craftsmanship of that product.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more respectful, you know, to
I know
use them.
there's people that out there that do that with our beef. Like, you know,
Right.
they say, well, this is really, really incredible meat. I'm going to save it, and then, you know, 3 years later, like it's not good anymore. I spent 3 years in the freezer.
Yeah, I,
And I know that happens.
it definitely does. And I don't stand by that either. Like, you know, I think every grandma's pantry is full of canned tomatoes from like, you know, 1983
Right.
and then they'll buy 10 cans of tomatoes when they have those in the pantry because those are special, but yes, they're special. Use them,
Yeah.
eat them.
Yeah.
And I think with our beef in particular, like that's your eaten beef, you know? That's like the beef that you should be eating to have energy to go do things. Like that's the beef you should.
It's high performance.
It's high performance. It's not a Wagyu super fatty grain fed like I'm going to eat this and drink some scotch and then that's my entire evening. Like then I'm done. That was like treating yourself.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite meals in the world, and I think one of the most successful meals in the world, is a fast food hamburger and French fries and a Coke. It's so good. It's so freaking good. But Wagyu beef has almost ruined that for me.
Okay.
Here's why.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
That is what they're feeding Wagyu cattle to fatten them up, is French fries.
Oh. Does that happen to you when you eat corn sometimes?
Yeah.
You think about
Yeah.
just like
Especially all like the iterations of corn. I mean, it's just in absolutely everything.
it is.
It's as inescapable as plastic these days.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, that saying, you are what you eat.
Mm.
Do you want to be a Wagyu cow or do you want to be a Koreani?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I love a corn-fed steak from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But just like you're talking about, if the reason that I'm eating is so that I can perform at a higher level, then I need high performance food. And it's really difficult to beat lean grass-fed beef for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. And I think there's this funny shift in our society that happens cyclically where microwave food used to be, when it first came out, that was what people who could afford it would eat, right? It was like this convenience of having a microwave and then being able to do those like quick instant meals was, a sign that you had like made it. And then if you're eating out of your garden and you're hunting, that's because you couldn't afford these
Right.
microwaved meals,
Yeah.
right? And then we've flopped again where farmers markets a lot of times are like they price people out. If you want food out of the garden, food that's grown in this way, it's going to cost more money than people generally have who are still trying to feed their families with microwaved pizzas. And I think that's such a shame,
Yeah, it is. But I mean, from an economic standpoint, economy of scale, especially, I understand how it got that way.
Yeah.
But it is really interesting, kind of that cycle between like poor and bougie food. Silverware, even though it's not a food item, it's interesting. In Victorian England, the silverware was for the peasants, and lead was for the royalty. And like that, might explain a lot about the royal family.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fascinating how availability of products, just supply and demand, and economy of scale changes how we value things.
Completely. And how we see different things, and how that changes over time. I still get, I don't know if you ever get this, but like when people find out that I may be intelligent, then they're like, well, why are you doing physical labor?
Yeah, you're supposed to be, just working on a computer so that you can make enough money to buy a gym membership so that you can spend time
right?
working out so that your body doesn't fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you could do so much more. You could be
Yeah.
doing so much more with your life, as if I haven't like thought of my own potential, as if I'm not doing exactly what I want to be doing.
Right. We strive for leisure and comfort in so many ways, and hunting provided that to an extent, right? If we were like a scavenging and gathering society, you've really got to be working a lot to be able to bring those things in. As soon as you hunt something, then you've got a big supply of food all at once, and you can actually just lay back and kick stress for a little while, and you can, smoke and salt and preserve this meat, and then you've got food for a prolonged period of time. So through hunting, you've achieved leisure and comfort, and that's definitely gone the other way as soon as agronomy came into focus, because now it's like, okay, we don't have to move with our food. We actually tricked some of these animals into hanging around us. We're feeding them, and we don't have to hunt for them anymore. And this is how domestication occurs. So we domesticate livestock. We domesticate wild grains and crops and things like corn and maize and wheat. There's a compelling argument that wheat domesticated humans. and not the other way around.
Okay.
That came from a book called Sapiens.
Oh,
But
right.
yeah, so wheat is one of the most successful species in the world.
Yeah.
It's everywhere that people are, and it probably started with it growing wild. People collect it a little bit, head back to camp. Some seeds spill as they head back to camp, and then as this goes on over time, then you get more abundance of those seeds in that area, and then people are able to stay there longer, and then pretty soon they build a permanent home there and cultivate that wheat. And now that they've got a grain crop, they can start feeding animals,
Right.
ungulates, and then they've got, cattle, and they've got horses and sheep and these other things that are now domesticated animals. They've got some surplus meat, so now they've got domesticated dogs that are helping them to hunt and to protect that livestock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the bedrock of a society that no longer has to move around. So they've achieved more comfort and leisure through those efforts.
Right.
And then hunting starts to go away.
Yeah. Yeah. And like most things that we thought would bring us more time and be more convenient, it's a whole bunch of work.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And now a lot of hunters today hunt because of the challenge, because of the
Right.
physical exertion, because they're lacking that so much
Mm-hmm.
in their life that they want to go and push themselves against the elements and against a really smart animal and all this stuff so that they can get a taste of what we used to be.
Yeah, because we need that. I
Yeah.
mean, when are you the happiest? For
Well-
me, it's when I creatively solve a problem, and generally when it took physical work to get it done too.
Yeah, I think I'm the happiest, when your cows are out and you pick up the phone and I get to tell you.
It's so true too. You get this like child giggle. It's pure joy.
I'm practically like bouncing up and down while the phone is ringing, like, yes, yes, yes.
I know. I probably won't ever take that away from you. It's probably just going to keep happening.
Hmm.
It's just here to bring you joy.
What's your gate policy these days?
Leave it how you found it. Hasn't
Okay.
changed.
Well, sometimes you need to go open a gate and leave the gate open.
You're opening it and you're leaving it open?
Yeah.
No,
Sometimes.
never. Why
Never,
would you do
ever?
that?
Okay, here's an example.
Okay.
Let's say you've got two adjoining pastures and
Yep.
you want the cattle to be able to go to both of them at the same time. And the gate between them is closed. So now we're going to go and open that gate and leave it open.
But if you are not in charge of the cattle in the pasture and you come across an open gate,
Hmm.
you should.
Leave it open.
And if you come across a closed gate,
Leave it closed.
yeah.
Cav-
Always.
Caveat,
Never.
what if there's no cows around?
Still leave it how you found it. You don't know what
Mm-mm.
I'm up to out there.
Mm-mm.
I could be headed that direction with cows.
Nope. It's January. They're not going to be out here for months. I'm going to be going through this thing every day, multiple times.
Gates get wonky if you leave them laying out in the winter. And then my poor soft spring self has to close wonky gates.
You got to harden up.
It takes a minute.
I'm not a fan of the all gates closed all the time policy.
I am so fully aware of that.
And we have lots of situations here on the Six Ranch where there is a closed gate that is behind a closed gate that is behind another closed gate.
There's a system.
They do not all need to be closed all the time. Only
Yes,
the
they
one.
do.
No, they don't. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't have to.
It does. It should.
No,
It's too rigid of a policy.
I have so few strict policies.
No, I'm not going to change.
Abide.
Mm-mm.
You should put game cams on those gates that you leave open and
Watch the struggle.
watch how angry I am at you
Nice.
if you need more joy in your life.
I think you probably have gone through gates that I've left open and not even realized the gain of efficiency that I've created for you in doing so.
I'll let you know if that happens.
I don't think you notice.
Of course I notice.
Okay. How do you feel about the first auto gate on the Six Ranch ever?
Yeah, it's so fancy. I feel like I'm rolling into Yellowstone's headquarters when I come to your house now.
Okay.
All you need is an archway, like a really
A big
elaborate archway
California
now.
archway.
And you're the winner of the fanciest
Yeah.
house on the ranch.
Put in an archway that's like 12 feet off the ground, so semi trucks run into it and it causes a big drama.
Yeah.
That's like a classic California archway move.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. You need one.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
I don't know that I want to punch holes in this rock ever again. That sucked.
You'll forget about it eventually. It's like getting tattoos. You're like, oh, that was terrible. I'm never doing that again. And then you forget.
That's the
You
truth.
forget the pain.
About
Come back for
about
more.
6 months.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, not that bad.
Yeah.
And then, 1 second and you're like, oh, this
This is terrible.
sucks so much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But then you do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I mean, you got to acknowledge it's fall. So there's so many things right now that I'm like, never again. I don't want to ever do that again.
Mm.
But come spring, I'm going to be chomping at the bit.
Is it fall?
Not yet. It's approaching.
That's something that I've noticed we do as ranchers is as soon as you get close to the next season, you just start acting like it's here. So even though we're very much in summer right now, I'm fully in the fall mindset, and so are you, because it takes so much preparation for that next season that you have to start acting on it beforehand.
Yeah.
And mentally it changes for us. So it's very much summer, but you and I are both like, no, it's effectively fall because there's so much that needs to get done before and during fall that we just need to start acting like it now.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I also think it's very indicative that we even talk in seasons. Right? So you don't say like quarters or the month that it is. It's just the seasons of things is what dictates what we're doing, right?
Yeah. Pretty gourmet catching a couple rains in August, huh?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about pure joy.
Yeah.
I mean, just it was like a relief valve opening. I can't even. There's so many places in ag right now that are still really suffering with drought, and we don't experience anything like they do in New Mexico and Arizona and Texas ever. But when it does get crispy here, it physically affects me, and I know that because when it rains, I feel like a huge weight come off my shoulders. Just everything's going to be okay now.
Yeah.
Because it rained.
Yeah. And then 10 days later, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Sheer panic again.
Yeah. It's the apocalypse.
Yep.
But that's how long it takes. And in our soil type, in just this area, you can have a really solid rain and have mud puddles on the ground. And if it's hot and dry tomorrow, you will have dust like crazy coming off your vehicle and still be driving through the mud puddles from the day before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with the health of our soil, right? So it depends where you are. If you've overgrazed a patch and it's all thin soil now, it's just going to erode. So those big rainstorms that we got, if there's not grass on the ground and there's not roots that can suck that moisture and hold it in the ground, it's going to create runoff and damage. And so that's always a fun game late summer too, like how much grass do you take off the ground, and how much do you leave for water retention.
Yep.
Just in case you get it.
Yeah. Well, we got it. We've got grass that's actually growing again right now, and I've never seen an August like it. I'm all about it. It's good for us here.
Yeah, it's great.
But
shipped outside cows early, and so we're getting really good regrowth right now, and it's going to make for a much easier feeding season.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How's the beef program?
Beef program's going great. I am so excited to tell you that we actually got 2 new restaurant accounts that we're starting to work through because of the meat rodeo.
Nice.
Like, they want to be participants so bad that they're willing to carry our product to do it.
That's great.
It's so great.
Who are they?
I'm not ready to. We'll announce it on the website soon
Okay.
when they're fully indoctrinated.
Such secrets.
I know. But it is really exciting. So our restaurants, those partnerships and relationships that we have, they're just so great, and they're just serving our meat up in ways that make us look awesome.
Yeah. They take a lot of pride in it.
They do.
Yeah.
And I do too. Really grateful for those. And so then, last year was kind of the first year of taking everything over Six Ranch business wise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really just kind of stuck to the program. But I didn't do our beef subscriptions last year, and we brought those back. So Grassroots Beef Club is back, and those boxes are going to ship out the 1st of October. So
Okay, hold up. You lost me.
Okay.
Grassroots Beef Club. Is that like a band?
Could be. It is what we call our subscription boxes. So lots of companies have gone in this direction, right, where you sign up to be a member and then you get something shipped to you periodically.
Okay.
So to be a Grassroots Beef Club member, you get beef shipped to you once a month.
Okay. How's it shipped?
It's shipped in these cool like little cooler boxes that we got, and it comes with a return shipping label. So we ship all your beef obviously on ice, insulated little cooler boxes. You unload it into your freezer, slap the return label on it, and it comes back to us, and we'll fill it back up and send it back to you the next month.
Okay. How much beef is in the box?
It's roughly 10 pounds of ground steak, roasts, and specialty cuts.
Okay. Is there anything else in the box?
Yeah, we always add little surprises. So just of other things we grow here, because primarily we're doing beef, but we also have honey and eggs and flowers and, sourdough starter and all these other great things that we're all doing all the time. And that are sold in the farm stand, and just you can't access them outside of the farm stand or
Right.
here locally.
Okay.
We'll send those to you too. And then I always throw in some merchandise, some recipes. If we send you oxtail, we'll send you a great recipe with it. And little love notes from us. Love notes from the ranch.
So that starts in October.
Mm-hmm.
And is it going to be year-round?
Yeah. So this is the first year, but we're going to do it year-round. So you have the option. You can buy 6 months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And you get, that's the best value. And you pay upfront in advance. That really helps us know how many live animals to process for you.
Right.
Which is always a challenge, right?
Because we don't have a 3D printer that makes steaks.
We do not. No, like we have to.
It takes years. It takes years.
It takes years, and we're sacrificing a life to feed you.
Yep.
So it's really important to us that we know the quantity there. So, and it's the best value for you. It's really a good deal. I think our beef customers in the past, their feedback has been a little bit of skepticism going in, and then they're like, wow, this was so much meat and such a great value, and my freezer was full all year long.
Cool.
So your other option is to do month to month.
Okay.
And that gives you some flexibility. We automatically charge you. We automatically ship it. You don't have to think about it. But if you are like, whew, man, I didn't have as many parties as I thought I was going to this month, and I still have beef in the freezer, you can always pause or cancel your subscription.
Nice. I know we've got a limited quantity available. We've got 25 more to sell, something like that.
Yeah. And we got some sold today, so not very many spaces left.
Okay. So if somebody wants to get one of the remaining ones, how do they do it?
Go to the website, and I have a discount code from this podcast.
Oh,
so
snap. I don't really do those.
You
but,
don't do those?
Well, it always seems so pushy. It's like, hey, save, 15% off this, helium mattress and blah, blah,
So
blah, blah.
let's make it a little more interesting.
Okay.
If you get 10 subscriptions sold with this discount code, so I know that they came from you,
Mm-hmm.
what would you like me to do?
Never bring up Gates again.
Come on. Something reasonable. Like, don't set me up for failure instantly.
I don't need anything. Okay.
Well, if you put in the code Little Sister 6.
Okay.
Number 6.
Number 6.
Always a number 6.
Always the number 6.
Never write out 6.
Yeah.
Little Sister 6, you get 6% off.
Yeah.
And if you have a funny challenge that you think I should do, not willing to clean James's house, but maybe, and not willing to not complain about gate etiquette.
I'll come up with
But
something.
I'm open.
I'll come up with something. All right. So go to 6ranch.com.
Number 6, ranch.com.
The number 6ranch.com. And you can check this out. If it sounds like something you're into, we can't ship beef to Puerto Rico.
No.
Because we've got to overnight it. But where can we ship to? What's the area?
We can ship to Nevada, Idaho, Washington, most of California, Oregon. And a lot of that has to do with just our values.
Yeah.
As far as our footprint in the world and how much airplane time we want to commandeer.
And I think we can get to Southern California. We're just going to have to charge a little bit more.
Yeah, it just costs a little bit more. And we might limit that in the summer. Just shipping perishables
Gotcha.
Sometimes is really challenging in those long, hot areas.
So if somebody's outside of the shipping zone, should they just send an email through the contact box on the ranch and see if there's a way? All right.
Yeah, just reach out to me.
Okay. Good enough.
We'll make it work.
How's Pan?
Pan's got lots of potential.
He's an interesting little dog.
He is an interesting dog. They always are. Yeah, Put was a weirdo too, and now he's irreplaceable on the ranch as a dog. Pan is. I'm looking forward to this winter. We have an indoor arena, which makes us very spoiled, and that's when we train on young animals. So I've got a couple of horses and Pan, the dog, Pan, to
Border Collie.
To train.
Pandemonium.
Yeah, pancake.
Panic at the Disco. He's very sensitive.
Yes. He's extremely sensitive until he's not. And a little horror story on Pan. I almost got poor little pancaked.
Uh-oh.
I didn't, and it was one of those moments where you don't know whether to say yeah, now you learned your lesson, or I am so sorry, that's not what I thought was going to happen. But he was so naughty, and you talk about being mad at cows, how about being mad at cow dogs, right? So we were moving cows and everything was going so great, and sometimes those young dogs, when things are going well, they throw a fit and make things into chaos because they don't want to quit working.
Right.
They don't want the job to be done.
Yep.
So cows are going through the gate, and he just cut into the middle of them and just started biting anything in sight and scattered calves on different sides of fences. I mean, total pandemonium, right? Total chaos. And I was irate. I was packing Ira on my back. I was on foot, packing Ira on my back. Hank was over it, and I was so happy that we were almost done. And that dog, I was mad. And so I took his collar and wrapped it around a rock jack and on him, right? This is where you live now.
Yep.
You no longer get to participate in this job. And then I sent the good dog out and around. Everything's coming back together. And this one cow saw him and somehow knew that he was stuck there. And she just like full force head rolled him into that rock jack.
Yikes.
And I was like, I just killed my dog. I felt so bad. And I was like, ran over there, and she took off. And he said he's so sensitive. And so his little eyes were just like, so big and weepy. He's like, oh. I was like I said, I didn't know whether to be like, yeah, now you know better, or like, I'm so sorry, little buddy, I'll carry you back to the house. He was totally fine. Yeah, no damage done at all other than to his psyche. But
he's as smelly as your kids are sticky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's uncontrollable on both fronts.
He's got a real skunk thing going on this summer.
I think that he's having an affair with a skunk.
Really?
He seems to get a fresh oiling from a skunk like every other night, it seems like. So
I mean, skunks are kind of the border collie of mustelids.
Okay.
They're black and white.
Yeah.
Inquisitive.
He really wants a friend.
Yeah.
So I hope that it's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it that much. Stickiness, not my favorite part either, but I've gotten used to it. You just embrace it. My car is so sticky. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's part of being a mom, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's okay.
Quick Hank and Ira update for the next gen of the Six Ranch.
Hank and Ira update. Yeah, so 4.5 and 2.5.
Okay.
Halves are very important when you're that age. So that's a good distinction. Hank is genuinely helpful and such a hard worker. And really, Hank is more cautious and more gentle than his little brother. But he's so aware of all his surroundings and all of his people. I think one of my favorite things about Hank right now is how much and how often he thinks of all the animals, all of the people that love him, and he wants to make sure everybody's okay and that everybody's taken care of. And then he's just so aware of all of his surroundings, no matter where we are. Really cool to see and witness. Ira is a fearless little wild bear raccoon child, and absolutely hilarious, and has that. I think it's amazing for somebody his age to be as funny as he is, but also like as much of a little jokester and prankster as he is. Like, he looks for and finds ways to mess with everything. And most of the time it's really, really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both of them are doing great. They're happy. We're living back in the house that you and I grew up in.
Yeah.
And it's such a trip to, like, I know exactly where they are all the time just based on the sounds.
Yeah.
Of the house, of the porch, of outside gravel. And I kind of just have this like deep instinct of what they might be up to.
Right.
But what a great place to grow up. Like,
yeah, it really is.
It really is.
How's the penny experiment going?
Man,
you want to tell the people what happened?
I think you should tell the people what happened, and then I will tell you what's happening.
Okay. So I went to the bank and got 2,000 pennies, which they gave to me in a canvas bag. So I walked out of there looking more sus than a suitcase on a riverbank. And one of my high school teachers was walking in, and he kind of gave me a side eye, and I was like, yeah, just rob the place. So I came back, cracked all the pennies open, and then scattered them around your gravel driveway and told Hank that a fishing trip with me cost 500 pennies. And folks, that is a Hank only rate, just to be clear. and said that if he collected 500 pennies, that I'd take him fishing. And he gave it a pretty good stab right off the bat. It was a hot day. The pennies were hot. That was
Pennies
a
are
problem.
hot.
Yeah.
That has been a problem.
Yeah. So take it from there.
So how long ago was that?
July.
Okay. Our count is currently 289
Okay.
pennies. I will have you know that he likes me to check the date and tell him how old every single penny is. So I have aged 289 pennies.
Nice.
He also enjoys a reference to that age.
Mm.
Like, is that as old as you? Is that as old as me?
Yeah.
Is that as old as time?
Learning is occurring.
Yeah, great there. My driveway is still very shiny.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the worst thing.
Yeah.
Also interesting that no guests have brought it up. Like,
Okay.
when you're pulling in, there's shiny copper.
Yeah.
You know, it's clear, but no one's talked about it. But it's getting harder to make the penny collecting fun. The dump truck collection has been the most successful.
Okay.
Like, drive your dump truck around and put pennies in the back. Usually comes back with a lot more than just pennies.
Yeah.
But we're still a ways off from
Okay.
fishing.
All right.
So
Well, they're not going to be as shiny after a winter. It's
yeah,
going to be a lot harder to hunt them up.
it's gonna be harder to age them too,
Yeah. They get driven over a bunch of times.
right?
It can be hard on the old penny aging process. Oh, that's
I also
good.
think that Katie Jane stole 3, so
Okay. Yeah.
should be taken into account.
Wouldn't be
Katie
surprised
Jane, if you're listening, I saw you.
wouldn't be surprised if Pan has eaten a few of them as well.
You know, he's not a trash eater. That was Suede as a
Mm.
puppy. Suede once puked up a like ticket thing or a like tab that said this machine will automatically turn off in 60 minutes.
Ooh,
I don't know what that could be.
rugged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a trash panda, but Pan's hard to get to eat anything. He's
Yeah.
really busy.
He doesn't really care.
No.
Yeah, when I go over to feed him, because you've got, some horses and cows around, he's usually out in the pasture just staring at them
Yeah.
intently. It's like, come on, little guy.
Yeah.
Time to eat
Take a
some
break.
kibble.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's intense, but yeah, like I said, those dogs, I couldn't do what I do without dogs.
Okay, so Six Ranch on Instagram, Six Ranch on the website, always the number 6.
Yep.
I think that if you just punch in the number 6 on your Instagram search, the first things that come up are Six Ranch Outfitters, Six Ranch, and Six Ranch Podcast.
Yep.
Typically.
Yeah, follow along. We don't have any employees or interns, so
We're thinking about doing that.
Yes, we are thinking about doing that, and I think it'd actually be a really cool opportunity for somebody who wants to be around ranching but doesn't necessarily have the skill set. Could really help us with our social media because it really is just us.
Yeah.
But we do show up.
Yep.
And give you some insight, and I'll announce those restaurants and
Well, I'm excited to hear about that.
show you some things.
I'm excited. Meat Rodeo was a great success. Meat Rodeo winner this year.
Meat Rodeo winner was the Range Rider.
Range Rider, Enterprise, Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were the overall winners. Just kind of steady man wins the race
Yeah.
type of deal. And they did great. But yeah, all the restaurants, that's such a fun event. And all the restaurants really, really showed up hard this year and can't wait for next year.
Yeah. That was fun. It was a lot of fun. Look forward to next year. I think that'll be an event that just continues to get more fun as we do it more.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, absolutely. I've already planned my outfit for next year.
Great. That's so good. Okay. Thanks, Del.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for listening. I'm going to keep bringing you these stories from normal people just like you who have done extraordinary things. Everyone is an expert at something, and they have interesting perspectives on life and work and the environment and all of the things that we care about. I'm going to keep bringing that to you. And I want to thank you so much for making this show possible. I also want to thank Emily Bratcher for producing this show. She does a great job editing. Really appreciate her. I want to thank John Chatelain. He did the art for the Six Ranch podcast. And Celia, soon to be Harlander, she digitized that so that we can get it out there on the internet for you. Also want to thank Justin Hay for writing this original music and the beautiful whistling that you're listening to right now. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Please keep listening to the show. Write me a review if you feel like it, and just keep doing your thing, and we'll all learn from this together. It's been fun, and we're just getting started.